Hello, it's Karen here, and yes, it's been an age since I made a video, but things happened, Mojo disappeared, um, time ran away from me. Anyways, I'm back. So today's card's a very simple one to get me back into the groove again. I'm using the My Favourite Things Tweet Holidays stamp set, a couple of die sets from My Favourite Things and Mama Elephant, and my favourite pattern paper, the watercolour wash papers from My Favourite Things. So moving right along, I die cut the aqua coloured pattern paper with a stitch dot circle die, which I actually think is retired, but I just love it. Die cut that from the pattern paper, put it to one side, and then I'm stamping the images onto some Express It cardstock using some extreme black ink. So I'll give those a couple of goes to get a good impression, and then I am just going to do a bit of simple Copic colouring. I've put the numbers of the Copic markers up on the screen because even though I held the groups of markers up to the camera, by the time I had cropped the shot down, some of them you could not see the colours. So I've written those on the screen for you, so I hope that helps. And really I'm going over a couple of times, trying to get a good blend and a good distinction between the different shades. And I actually end up going back at the very end. I go back and colour some parts again because I was still not happy with it. Ironically, I've been doing some Copic marker classes, and it's made me even more critical of my colouring than ever. And I don't profess to be any sort of expert at Copic colouring. But the more I seem to see in classes, the further I realise I have to go. So, but I keep persevering, and hopefully one day I'll get there. So I'm using pretty much all neutral shades for these birds, and I'm just going to have a pop of colour in their beaks and in the scarf and hats. So I'm just going to leave you with some music while I finish colouring up these little birds, and I'll be back when it's time to put the card together. Okay, so I'm back. So I used my Brother Scan and Cut to cut out the two images, and now I'm going to assemble the card. So I'm going to glue the pattern paper onto my top folding card base using some liquid glue, and from there I'll add the frame that has been die cut from some smooth white cardstock, and I'll pop that up on some foam tape to give it a bit of dimension. I'm just going to sit my pieces on now. Originally I was going to have them sitting off to the right of the card. I ended up centering them just because I like symmetry, and the sentiment will sit underneath that die cut circle. So I've got things laid out, put the frame on, see how it all looks. This is where I think, yeah, no, I don't really like those birds off to the side like that. They're too close to that frame. So I changed my mind on that score. I'm going to stamp the sentiment very quickly, again using the extreme black ink, and very simple sentiment. I didn't bother with embossing or anything. I was trying to keep this card as simple as I could. So I'm going to double stamp that, and then it's all down to assembly. So here comes the frame. Add some foam tape which I've cut down to fit in those behind those scallops. I'll peel off the backing, and I'm going to add some liquid glue. This is a trick I saw on one of Jennifer Maguire's videos, is you add a bit of liquid glue to your foam tape, and it gives you that little bit of wiggle room that you often don't get with glues that aren't liquid. So yeah, that sort of worked. I possibly could have used a little bit more to give me a little bit more wiggle room, but it did work. So a good trick to keep up your sleeve, that one. So here's the wee bird. Now I'm going to adhere their wee feet behind the branch, and so that it looks like they're actually on the branch. And once that's done, I'm going to add, I don't know why, but I added a whole lot of strips of tiny little thin foam tape. Took me an age, but there you go. That was just where my brain was at that time, I guess. So there's all those little bits of foam tape, taking off the backing paper, and I will put that in the centre of that circle. And it's about now that I'm looking at this thinking, I'm not that happy with the colouring on some parts of this, so I pull out my Copics again and I recolour their little tummies. I bring in the E42 to as an in-between colour between the E41 and the E43, and then I also add some dot detail with all three of those colours to add some texture. And at that point I'm much happier with the blending and the look of the birds. And I think that's the end of the colouring, but no, wait, there's more. So I'm adding some Spectrum Noir clear sparkle pen to the whites of the birds' hats, and once I've done that, I'm looking at it and I'm going, yeah, not happy with the blending on those wings, so I pull out my Copics again and do a little bit more colouring and blending. In the end, I am satisfied with the final result and go, that's it, finished. So I'm looking at the card and I'm thinking it needs something else. So as a final touch, I pull out some sparkling clear confetti and add a few of those around the card, and then I call it done. So that is my card for today, and I'd just like to say thanks for persevering through this video with me, and I will catch you hopefully sooner than it's taken me to get back to this, but I'll catch you some stage. Thanks, bye.